Hello everyone, welcome to EcoNivas Advanced Tool demonstration video. The EcoNivas Advanced Tool has been developed by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power, Government of India and GIZ to promote energy efficiency in residential buildings and in turn reduce impact of carbon footprints on the environment, particularly for India. German Development Corporation, in collaboration with Bureau of Energy Efficiency, have been working together for over 60 years to form policies to promote energy efficiency and support their execution at national and state level. The EcoNivas Advanced Tool aims at providing the Indian building industry professionals a platform where they can play around with a variety of customizable energy efficiency options and features and come up with best possible set of parameters to make the building design optimized in terms of energy, environmental and economic performance. This is amongst one of the few tools available in the Indian market that perform live web-based simulation to report real design results. Let's start with the demonstration. In order to start the advanced tool, we have to open the EcoNivas website. The EcoNivas portal, we have to come down to this tab where this button for opening the EcoNivas tools is available. Let's click on it. Now there are three tools available over here. The basic tool, which was available in the previous version of EcoNivas as well, and two more tools, which is the advanced tool and the optimization tool. But let's start with the advanced tool first. So let's click on advanced tool over here. Now once we click on the advanced tool button, we land on this advanced tool portal. So first what we have to do is we have to sign up on this tool page. Let's just quickly do that. Click on sign up here. And then lastly, we have to check this terms and conditions page. Let's just click over here and then click on this register button. Now as soon as we click on this register button, it sends over a verification mail to our registered email account. So we have to open our email account, and then you see that this EcoNivas Advanced Tool portal has sent over a mail to our registered email account. Now let's just click on this verification link. So our account has been activated now. Now let's just quickly log in into this. After filling the required information, we have to click on the login button. There is also a provision for forgot password over here. So if password gets slipped from the mind, we can always recover the password from this forgot password link. Anyways, let's click on login button. Once we click on login button, we arrive on the project listing page. This page is still empty because we have created a fresh account. If you are an existing user, in that case all the projects that you have done previously would be listed over here along with their corresponding properties. So let's just start with a new project. If you see over here on the left hand side, you see two tabs available. What we are doing is we are currently working over advanced tool. We should not go over to the envelope optimization tool as of now. The details of the envelope optimization tool is given in a different video link, which will be given in the description. So to start with the advanced tool, we have to come over on the right hand side to this add new project button. Let's just click over here. Now we are on the main page of the advanced tool itself. On the left hand side, you have this browsing section wherein different sections of the tools can be accessed by clicking on them. We'll be discussing about them in a while. And on the right hand side, you have a detailed help panel wherein all the help and the information related to the inputs which are required in the advanced tool form have been explained in detail. So let's start with the filling up the form itself. Let's just name our project as EcoNivas example. Then the next information that is required is the state. So as soon as you select on the state, based on that, the city list automatically updates. So suppose if I have selected Delhi, so there is Old Delhi and New Delhi which is coming up in the city list. If I select some other state, suppose I go for Gujarat, in that case all the cities and the weather files available for different cities in the Gujarat state would be available in the city drop down list. But, right now we are going to go with the Delhi location. So let's just say our city is New Delhi. As soon as we select the city, automatically the climate and the closest weather profile is selected by the tool. Now coming on to the building typology, now this has certain effect on the overall thermal performance of the building. So single family building would have different schedule, a multi-family building would have a different occupancy and lighting and equipment schedule and all of that. So accordingly, the EPI or the energy performance index of the building would differ. For our case, let's go for single family housing. And then the tool asks for the occupancy. Now the occupancy can be defined in two ways. Either we can input the total number of person in the building, or we can go with the area density method or by meter square per person. So let's just go with the meter square per person option, and let's say that there is, for every 10 meters square of area, there is one person available in the building. Now the last thing that is required in the basic information section is the latitude information, which is automatically selected by the tool based on the location itself. The latitude plays a very important role in shading elements and the impact of shading on the overall thermal performance of the building. But we don't have to bother about it for now, as the tool automatically takes care of selecting the appropriate latitude. So this completes our basic information section. Now the next section that we're going to fill is the layout part. Let's click on the layout section. In the layout section, the first information that is required is the selection of building shape. Now there is a rectangular shape available, L shape, T shape, U shape, rectangular minus. So various types of shape options are available, which are prefixed. The tool also has the provision of drawing custom geometry as well. So we'll be going with this option. Let's click on custom geometry. As soon as we click on custom geometry, the layout for drawing the custom geometry pops up. Now one thing is very important to note here is that for the custom geometry part, the north position would always be fixed on the topmost facade of the building. So the topmost area of canvas will always be considered as the north orientation or northern facade of the building. So we have defined the layout, shape and the building orientation. Now let's start drawing the geometry. Now the tool says that to draw an ortho line, we have to press shift button. So there is certain amount of help available on the canvas layout to assist in the custom geometry drawing. Now let's suppose that our building is 15 meters in length on the northern facade. On the eastern facade, let's say it is somewhere around 5 meters. Then there is again a wall on the northern facade, maybe again 5 meters. I'll try to make it as appropriate as I can make. Then on the eastern facade again there is a wall of 5 meters. Then on the southern facade there is a long wall face of 20 meters, and then on closing down. Now this is a very important point. To close any geometry, we have to click on the C key over the keyboard. So if we click on C key on the keyboard, the shape automatically closes itself. So this completes our custom geometry drawing. There is also a provision to show 3D geometry, which is still in the development phase and possibly would be available in the later versions of the tool. We're not going to go into that. Now let's just proceed further. The last two things that are required in the layout section of the tool is the number of floors. Let's suppose our building is having 2 floors and each floor height is, let's say it is 3 meters. So we have finished filling up the information in the layout section of the tool. Now we are going to proceed towards the envelope section. Let's click on envelope section. Now as soon as we click on the envelope section, we see there are 2 different subsections, and we'll be talking about each of them in details now. First, let's talk about the construction details section. In the construction details section, we see that there are 3 main subsections which are available. So we have wall details part, wherein we are going to define the wall material. Then we have roof detail part, and then we have fenestration detail part. So in the wall details part, what we're trying to do is we are trying to create library of composite assemblies of wall, and as well as in the roof detail section we'll be making libraries of composite roof assemblies. So let's start with the wall details first. Coming on to the definition type, there are 2 definition methods available in the tool. One, the property one, is very straightforward. I'll try to demonstrate each of them very quickly. Let's click on the property option. If you click on the property option, the tool asks for the wall name. So let's say we're making this brick wall with Q value. And then the only information required for making a wall with the property method is the overall thermal transmittance or U value of the wall assembly. So suppose I have a brick wall whose wall assembly is 2.9. So I've filled in all the information. Now as soon as I click on add wall button, this table pops up which shows that you have made a wall, a brick wall. directly by giving a U value over here, which will be used in our simulations as well. Now there is also a provision to edit this U value. If we click on this edit button, you can obviously click this and change this to, let's say, this is not 2.9 but 3.0, and then we click on this update wall button. The values will be updated. There's also an option to delete the assembly if we want. We're not going to do it for now. So this was one method of defining the wall construction. This is one material that we have created in the library. One very important point to be noted here is that once you create material library in any of the project, it will be available across the projects for a single account user. So suppose if you are making multiple projects and you have made one material construction in one of your projects, that material library will be available across the projects. So this is one of the very important features of the tool. Now let's come on to the second method, which is the layer by layer construction method. If we let's select the layer option. Now as soon as we click on the layer option, we see that two more inputs pop up on the layout. One is the layer name, outside to inside, and the next input required is the thickness. So what we are going to do is we are going to construct a composite wall assembly by layer construction. So let's say we are making a brick wall. Now the first layer, if it's a brick wall, let's say, so there is this drop down that is available, which has all the Econivas Samhita listed materials available in them. So let's say our first layer is the cement plaster, which is on the outside, and the thickness of the cement plaster is, let's say it is 15 mm on the outer side. After filling all this information, we click on this add layer option. We click on this add layer. Now this table, the first table that we are seeing here, is populating all the layers that we are adding to our composite wall assembly. So first layer is added, that is cement plaster. The next layer would be a solid burnt clay brick that we've selected, and let's say its thickness is 220 mm. So this is our second layer, and the tool automatically computes based on the thickness and the conductivity of the material that we've selected. The tool automatically calculates the R value or the resistance value of individual layer. So let's just finish up making this wall. The last layer that we have would again be cement plaster on the internal side. Sorry, I've selected gypsum plaster. Let's select cement plaster, and the thickness of this internal plaster is again 15 mm. So there are three layers that we have added to create our composite wall assembly. We can add more layers if we want, but for now, let's just take these three layers and create this brick wall layer assembly. Once the addition of layer is complete, we click on this add wall button. If you want, you can delete any layer at any time as well. So let's just click on add wall to create this composite wall assembly. Click on this add wall button. Okay. So now we have created two different composite wall assemblies using two different methods. The first method was using the property option, in which we directly put the U value, and the next method, the second method, was using the layer by layer construction, in which we selected multiple layers to create our composite wall assembly, for which the tool has already computed the U value. We can anytime delete any of the material assemblies from the table if we like. So this completes our wall details portion. Similarly, roof composite assemblies can be made by using either of the two methods, property or layer. I have already made these two assemblies for demonstration, just like we did for wall construction. Now, coming on to the last section of the construction detail portion, we have the fenestration details. So let's just quickly make window assembly. So fenestration type, there are three different fenestration types available. We are going to go with windows, or you can choose ventilator or door as per your liking. Let's select door. Now let's name this window as window 1. So just keep in mind that we are making a library of a window over here. So then the fenestration opening type, let's select it's a casement window. We can either go with casement type window, or 2-door sliding, or 3-door sliding. Based on the selection, the total openable area of the fenestration would differ. So casement area has the largest opening, close to approximately 90% openable area. So we are going to select casement fenestration type. Then the tool asks for the U value. So let's say if it is a single glazed window, the U value would be somewhere around 5.5 watt per meter square. Similarly, let's take the SHGC, it will be close to 60%. Then the VLT, let's put it somewhere around 70%. Now lastly, the tool asks how much glazing percentage is available on the window assembly. So there will be some glazing area, and then there will be some opaque frame area present. So let's say that our window assembly has approximately 70% of non-opaque area or the glazing area, and then the remaining area would be considered as opaque frame area. And the last thing that is required is the opaque frame U value. So there are multiple options available in the drop down. Let's go with metal frame with thermal break. So after filling all these informations, we have to click on this add penetration button. As soon as we click on this add penetration button, this new window type is created, which we will be using later. So after filling the first part of the envelope section, the next section is the dimension details part, which we'll be filling now. So in the dimension details part, all the walls that we have created in our layout section are listed over here along with the orientation of the walls themselves. So we had one wall in the north direction. If you see over here, we had one wall in the northern facade, which was 15 meters in length, and we had taken the floor height as 3 meters and the number of floors at 2 meters. So accordingly, the area is 90 square meters. Let's just assign the construction to this particular wall portion. So we have to click on this add construction button. A very important point to note before we proceed is that currently only one type of material can be assigned on individual walls. So we cannot assign two different types of material assemblies with different area on a single wall facade. Possibly in the later versions of the EcoNivas tool, this option would also be made available. So anyways, let's start with assignment of material to the north wall or the wall 1, the major wall. Let's click on add construction button. As soon as we click on add construction button, this pop-up window appears, and then we have a section which asks for the type of wall. So we had made two different walls when we were making the library. So we can go with either of them. Let's select the first wall construction type, which is brick wall with U value. Let's select this. The length, height, number of floors and area are auto-calculated. Now, a very important thing is that the tool asks for the boundary condition, that whether the wall that we are making, is it exposed to the external environment or it is adjacent to some other kind of shade or buildings. So in our case, we'll take this wall as exposed to the outside. As soon as we click on the exposed to the outside option, the button for adding fenestration pops up. So if this is an exterior wall, the tool allows addition of fenestration on the wall itself. So let's just start assigning the fenestration on this wall. Click on add fenestration button. As soon as we click on the add fenestration button, so there are multiple inputs that are required. First of all, we have to select the type of fenestration. So we had made only one material library of window or the window construction, which is available over here as an option. So we'll select window 1, and then the next thing that is required is number of windows. So let's say there are 5 windows on this wall. The length of the window is, suppose it is 1.2 by 1.5. Then the area is auto-calculated. The last thing that is required is the shading type. So this is very important and we have to clearly understand this. So there are multiple options for assigning shading on the window that we have just assigned to the north wall on which we are assigning the construction. So suppose you have got few number of windows where there is no shading available, and then a few number of windows where there is shade available. So in that case, we have to assign few windows without shading on this wall, and then you click on add fenestration button and you assign the same window along with the number of windows that you have. Suppose the number of windows along with shade, there are maybe around 8 windows which are having shade, and the length and breadth that you have to input again. So now this way you can actually assign the same window with or without shading to the selected wall type. So let's just quickly assign the shading over this window type. So there are multiple shading options available: overhang, left side skin, right side skin, or the combination of them. So we'll go with the overhang part. So now we click on the overhang option, the inputs required for defining overhang shading becomes visible on the screen. So let's say, so this is the height above window, which is nothing but the distance between the topmost edge of the window and the starting point of the projection. So let's just say it is very near to the window. There is no distance between the window and the starting point of the projection. So we'll take 0 meters. Then there is this tilt angle from the window, that the projection is how much tilted from the window plane. So we'll say that it is approximately 90% tilted from the window. A help option is also available to get a better understanding of the inputs over here. And also, if we need further clarification, in that case, there is this I button available on the shading type input. If we click over here, you can see all the shading definition inputs have been defined in details on this window. So let's just quickly finish filling the required information information. Then the next thing is that the left extension from the window, which is actually how much the shading is extended from the topmost left and right corners of the window. So if you see the option 3 and 4 is the left and right side extension. So I'll say that the window is aligned with the projection, so there is no extension on the left hand side or the right hand side. Then the last thing and the very important thing is the projection depth of the overhang. So let's say the depth of the overhang is approximately 0.8 meters. So this finishes the definition of shading on the fenestration itself. We have defined the wall type, the construction type to the wall 1, which was on the northern side. We have defined the boundary condition. Then we have defined the fenestration type. We have taken two types of fenestration: one fenestration without window and in the same fenestration with some windows. Now there is an option to delete the fenestration definition along with the shading. So finally, what we need to do is, if we have finished defining all the walls and the fenestration types and the overhang type on this particular wall, we need to click on this add button. So as soon as we click on this add button, this particular material assembly for wall along with all the shading elements that we have defined while making this construction would appear on this populated table. Now there is an option to delete this construction and edit this construction as well. Similarly, we will fill the required information in all the other walls as well. So let's just quickly finish that. Okay, so we have finished filling all the required information and assigning construction to all the walls of the geometry that we have created. Now the last thing required in the envelope section of the tool is the definition of roof. So we have to select the construction type. The area is automatically calculated by the tool based on the geometry. So let's just quickly assign the roof construction type. We have made two constructions for roof, the RCC with U value and the RCC by using the material layer. So let's assign the RCC slab material to our roof. This completes the envelope section of the tool. Now we'll be moving on to the next section, which is the lighting part. Under the lighting section, there are two prime inputs that are required, which is the definition method and the lighting power density. So we'll be assigning the power density of lighting equipment which are installed in the building. So under the definition method, two different types of definition methods are available, which is the building area method and space by space function. Both are influenced from the Energy Conservation Building Code 2017. So we can go with either of the methods. I'll try to explain each one of them one by one. Under the building area method, only one input is required, which is the lighting power, the overall lighting power or the lighting equipment capacity that is installed in the project. So for defining this, there are two different input options available. We can either go with watt per meter square or with the total wattage. So we'll go with the watt per meter square or the lighting power density method. So let's take the lighting power density as 8 watt per meter square of area. So this is one method. The next method is the space by space function method. Under this method of lighting input, we can select multiple areas and define their design load individually. So suppose we have got 4 zone or 5 zone building or 10 zone building, and each of the zones have different occupancy type. So you can accordingly select the percentage area from the total overall area of the building for that particular area and assign the design load individually to each of the category of areas. So we'll be doing it now. Suppose we have the bedroom area, which constitutes approximately 60% of the total area of the building, and let's say the total design load in the bedrooms, all the bedrooms of the building, is somewhere around let's say 200 watts. Then after doing this, we click on add LPD. Now this particular type of area is added into our main table. Now the next area, let's say that we have transition corridors also available, which constitute approximately 15% of the total area, and their design load is somewhere around 100 watts. We click on add LPD. Now the total area that we have defined is 75%. Still 25% of area is left. So let's say that we have kitchen and food preparation areas, which constitute approximately 25% of the total area, and the lighting power density or lighting load is 150 watts. So we click on add LPD button. So now we have assigned the design load to almost 100% of the areas of the building. we can edit or delete any of the space categories and edit their design load if we like. So this completes the lighting section of the tool. Similarly, just like the lighting section, the equipment details are also filled in the tool. So in the equipment section, we'll be going with the building area method, and we'll select the equipment power definition as watts. So let's say that all the auxiliary loads that we have in the building constitute around 5000 watts of equipment power. So there is 5000 watts of equipment load on the building. This finishes the equipment section of the tool. The second last section is the HVAC section, which is a very important section of the tool. So we can either choose a naturally ventilated building, or we can also have the provision to define HVAC system in our design. So as soon as we click on this HVAC option and we select yes, there are multiple options that pop up on the screen. So the first input that is required is the conditioned area of the building, that how much conditioned area is available in the building. So let's say that our building has approximately 60% of the space conditioned. So then the next option or the next input that is required is whether there is cooling present in the building. So since our building is located in New Delhi, so cooling would be required. Let's click on yes. So after clicking on yes, we need to define our cooling system set points. So let's select 26 degrees Celsius as our cooling system set point. Then again, you have to also define the coefficient of performance, or COP, of the air conditioning system installed. So let's suppose that our building has a split AC system of the 3-star rating, which will have the coefficient of performance somewhere close to 3.99. Then similarly, the tool asks whether there is heating system available or not. If you click on yes, then the tool asks which type of heating system is available, and again the heating set point. We are not going to go with the heating for now. So this completes our HVAC definition part. The last section of the tool is the economic section, which we are going to fill now. So under the economic section, the user has been given the provision to evaluate the design on the monetary benchmarks. So the user can either choose no or yes based on whether he wants to perform economic analysis or not. As soon as we click on yes, the project asks for the initial capital cost of the project. So we have to input the initial capital cost for construction of the project. So let's say the construction cost for our project is around 35,000 rupees per meter square. Then the next input required is the cost of electricity. Since our project location is Delhi, we will take 8 rupees per kilowatt hour as the electricity unit charge. Then the next input that is required is for how many years we want to evaluate the life cycle of the project. We say that we considering 25 years as the life cycle of the project. The last thing which is required as an input is the rate of energy inflation. So this is the percentage of inflation in the electricity unit rate over the period of time. So let's say that the electricity charge is inflated at a rate of 4% per annum. After filling all this information, now we have finished filling all the required input in the tool itself. We need to click on the save data button so that our information is not lost. Let's click on save. As soon as we click on save, the tool says that the data has been saved successfully. Now the next thing that we need to do to start generating the result is that we need to click on this submit button. So let's just click on submit button. So as soon as we click on this submit button, the tool asks whether we want to run simulation or not. We click on OK. So now we see that the simulation is running and the tool is calculating the EPI of the design that we have just made. So here is the result. We see that our EPI is somewhere around 70.27, which is acceptable. And the RATV is also in range. It is close to 10 watt per meter square. So the quick results are available on the output of the simulation page, which is available over here. Now, if you want to see the detailed inputs and outputs and also want to store the output results, we can do that by clicking over here on the download report button. If you click on over here, so the PDF is generated. So this is the result PDF wherein you have all the output available over here. Now we see that the annual life cycle cost is around 1.48 lakh, and the annual CO2 generation and the annual operating cost all are given as output over here based on the design that we have made. After that, there is some information about the end use data, that how much amount of energy is being utilized in the cooling, in the lighting, in the equipments and fans and whatnot. Then after that, there is some amount of information related to the inputs that we have given into our design, which are available in the later part of the report. So this report can be taken taken as a reference document for storing the inputs and outputs of the analysis that we just did. Now the last portion that I want to bring your attention to is on the home page. So on the home page we see that there is this main table under which all the projects are listed under one account. So a very important and very useful feature that is available in the tool is the add ECM portion, wherein we can create a copy of our main project and assign different energy conservation measures to evaluate which option fits us the most. So we'll be doing it now. Let's just click on add ECM button. As soon as we click on add ECM button, it says that the ECM has been added successfully. What it means is that it has created a copy of the main project for us to alter some inputs and evaluate which option would fit better. So what we'll be doing is we'll be assigning some energy conservation measures in our daughter project. We need to click on this edit button over here. We have landed on the form of the copy or the daughter project that was just created. Now let's just quickly add some ECM. So suppose what I do is I change the cooling thermostat set point to, let's say, 28 degrees Celsius, and I change this coefficient of performance of our air conditioning system to 5.0 or maybe 5-star rated, and then click on submit and run the simulation. So now we see that the EPI is reduced by close to 10 kilowatt hours. So this is a legible or it is a feasible energy conservation measure, wherein we have replaced the B 3-star rated ACs with B 5-star rated ACs. Again, if we jump onto the home screen, we see that approximately 10 kilowatt hours per meter square per year, the EPI value is reduced. Now, another feature, very important feature, is if we select both these projects and we click on this compare project button, the tool shows a comparative graph. So there's a better visibility of the output values over the graph by which we can actually analyze and select which option will be better for our design. So this completes the demonstration of EcoNivas Advanced tool. I hope you find this video useful while using the EcoNivas Advanced tool for all your future design ventures. Thanks a lot for listening.